Should be good. Well, I want to say welcome again. Thank you so much. This is our second in the series of community conversations. And the goal is really to invite our community leaders, have casual conversations where we can talk about what's important in our community. We can invite community leaders to maybe talk a little bit about what we're doing here in San Ramon. Just give you some updates on what's going on with the city, and keep you informed, and be a platform where I can be approached, reachable, and so that's really nothing formal. Hopefully, in a few months, we'll be doing this in person in one of our coffee shops or neighborhoods, which I'm really looking forward to. I was just looking at the numbers yesterday, and we've in Contra Costa has vaccinated about 300,000 people already, trending towards, and there is a goal towards vaccinating 1 million by July 4th. So that's really exciting, news. I'm still waiting my turn. Yesterday somebody told me that if you sign up for CVS and they have some of the extra vials left, and they'll text you, and if you make it within 30 minutes, you can actually, get the leftover vaccine, which is, I think, a great use of the leftover vaccine, those of us that are not high risk. Hi, I see Marcia's joining too. That's wonderful. Do we want to share? Hi, Marcia, nice to see you.
Hi, Sabina.
Well, thank you so much for joining. So we were just
welcome.
Don't want to miss. Yeah. So does everybody want to take a minute to introduce themselves? Whoever would like to. I always, we can go round table if you want to introduce yourself. If you don't, that's fine too. Patrick, do you want to?
Sure. My name is Patrick Vanier. I'm a longtime resident of San Ramon. I'm a father of 3 daughters that 2 of them are in college. One currently goes to Cal High, and I've been working with Sabina and been involved in some of her work for the last couple of years, and certainly proud to do that, and certainly enjoy the opportunity to sit down on a Saturday morning and chat about local issues.
Thank you.
Come on.
Oh, hi. Hi, everyone. I'm Marcia Galanco. I live in Alamo, but I'm very involved with a lot of community issues in the area. I am, I know both Sabina and Susanna, and really like to hear what they have to say about what's going on with the COVID and affecting the educational system. My kids are actually grown already, but because of my involvement with so many community affairs, I'm here. I'm here to listen to firsthand from our leaders and to see what they provide. So that's it.
Thank you for joining. Dave, do you want to introduce yourself?
Oh, sure. So Dave Owens, I live in San Ramon. I'm on the Arts Advisory Committee. I'm also on the Arts Foundation. This guy here is named Kevin, and he's thinking of running for mayor.
Perfect. Sarah, do you want to go?
For sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Sarah, and I'm currently on hold, so I'm like confused about where to put my attention. But I am a resident of San Ramon, went to high school here, went away to college, came back, and I love getting involved with local initiatives. I love everything that Sabina is working on, from technology to public engagement and educational campaigns and things like that. So really excited to be here. Thank you for hosting this event, Sabina.
And you are a new member of one of our committees.
I am. So starting next week, I'll officially be a member of the Technology and Innovation Advisory Committee. Thank you so much, Sabina. Really excited to get started with that.
Yeah,
Thank
good.
you for
We
joining.
need people like you on that. Great.
So excited. It'll be great.
Hi, Marge. Would love for you to introduce yourself if you would like.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Thanks for having us. I'm Marge Cortez. I'm actually in Walnut Creek. I'm in college advising, and I've worked with Susanna, been a colleague together for several years. And Sabina, we met when we volunteered for the She STEM Summit in
yeah.
San Ramon. Several of my students are also in San Ramon, so thank you all for doing this. I really appreciate your leadership in the community, both you and Susanna, so thank you.
Thank you for joining. And now the spotlight is on Susanna, who's our guest of honor today, and really the conversations we'll have. So Susanna, would love for you to introduce yourself.
Thank you, Sabina, and thanks everyone actually for inviting me, having me on here. Would love to, I think it's an honor to kind of be able to have conversation with the community, because this is why we serve, right? So thank you again for the opportunity. I, like Patrick, I have been a resident for a long time. I think my husband and I moved into San Ramon 1994, so in January, so just past the 27-year mark. Moved in, on the west side, and have two grown daughters, in their 20s, so not in our school system, but they went through the district, right, when they were younger. And I've actually been an classified employee. So I've actually worked at the school sites and actually taught art actually at the city of San Ramon. I stopped last summer just because of the pandemic actually. Otherwise I would probably still be doing some summer classes and things like that at the city level. So I've been very obviously involved with education and the school district and just the local schools, right, where my daughters went. But being on a school board allowed me to actually be even more involved with our different areas of our community, which I've very much been happy about. So
Thank you so much, and really appreciate you being on the school board. San Ramon is so much about our schools, right? People move here, we live here because our schools are so great. Whether you have kids or not, our home values are attached to schools as well, right? And we've made, I was attracted to this community because of the schools. I know a number of my friends were, whenever, and I'm seeing that more and more, that our schools are attracting such amazing families to our community. And you can't separate San Ramon from schools because it's such an integral part. So thank you for serving. I guess, I would love for you to share exactly what is the role of a school board member. There's always questions around what is actually the role, what does the school board member do for our community?
Okay, yeah, no, that's a great question. And actually, that was a question I had to, try and find out an answer for myself before I stepped in, right? So I was, this is probably my third year serving on the school board, almost 3 years. There was a vacancy on the board, probably around April, May-ish of 2018. And when that happened, someone actually kind of, suggested, tapped me. I've been very involved with the PTA and, different parent and educational groups, right? And they tapped me and say, hey, I don't know, you want to think about that? I think you might be, a good candidate for this, because at the time the remainder of the board decided to appoint someone, because it was 4 months before that particular board seat, my seat, was going to come up for re-election. So so instead of holding a special election, which would cost the district money, they decided, well, why don't we open up for an appointment for interviewing people who might be interested in serving. So I kind of, before I said yes and applied, I really had to answer a question like, what do school board members do? And so I've been to school board meetings and things like that, but I knew that I wasn't seeing everything, right? As a kind of participant, you attend school board meetings, you might make a public comment or you listen in on everything, but it's kind of hard to tell, like, if you're in that seat, like, how do you make the decisions and things like that. So I had to find out for myself. I did some research and talked to a lot of people, and I think, and I don't even remember who gave me this kind of definition or advice on being a school board member. But I mean, I still remember it today because it's very, very good analogy. So they said that as a school board member, just think of it if there's a pandemic or wildfires, actually, I think they use a wildfire analogy example, which was great, because if it's a wildfire, right, school board members are not the ones who are fighting the fire. Those are the firefighters. School board members are like maybe the fire board or whatever. They're not that, because if they're on the ground, they can't see. You're fighting the fire. You've got all these trees and different things, and you have to be the ones that are actually in the helicopters, in above, right, in the sky, looking and see what's going on, and then setting directions and communicating to the people down on the ground to say, hey, this is the direction you need to go. This is how you put out the fire. This is the best way. Having said that, the school board members also have to be ones who are communicating and taking advice from, taking input, right, and feedback from the people on the ground to know that, hey, I'm telling you this direction, but maybe it's, what kind of problem or issues that the people on the ground have. So anyway, that kind of stuck with me. And I think it's a great analogy because, again, we don't teach. We're not, that's the job of the teachers. We don't run the schools. That's principals, right, who run the schools. We don't even really operationally, day-to-day tasks, we don't run the district. It's a superintendent's job. And that's why we pay, right, pay them to do. That's their job. The school board actually takes in all this and more, parent input, student input. I love hearing from students because we're doing things for the students, and we want to make sure that whatever we're doing for the students are right for the students. So student input, we actually have to work with a lot of different groups, like City of San Ramon, right? Because we have a great partnership with like facilities and different issues. And we, of course, have to also take in consideration of county and state and even like community groups and things like that. So we're taking in a lot of feedback and information and then make the best decisions depending on what it is, with regards to education, of course, because students are our main focus. It has to be, because we're a board of education.
Yeah.
So sorry, took a long time to say.
No, absolutely. Thank you for sharing that. And I was going to say, well, you never imagined the fire, but it happened, right? This last year has been, something that none of us have seen in our lifetimes, at least.
Right.
And I remember just last March, I was on a call with a parent and you guys were just getting ready to make a decision whether to close schools or not close schools. And that's what everybody was talking about. And a year's gone by. So I would love to hear, now that we are reopenings, what do those reopenings look like, if you could share with us? And what kind of process did you go through to kind of decide on the reopenings? Because there are some schools that are open, some are not open, and there was a method behind all of that, right?
Yeah, well, yeah, I don't want to go back all the way back. It's almost a year ago, right? It was actually mid-March that we actually decided, or actually from the state, actually, we were still deciding whether or not, how serious, right, is this, pandemic. I don't think we were even using the word pandemic at that time. It was kind of like, oh, there's this virus, and is there a need to close schools? Because you do not want to, we don't want to close schools if it's not absolutely necessary. And we did. And then, of course, going through, we asked the teachers, working with the district, work with the teachers on actually, creating, right? Because we can't just like not have school, even though physically we can't have school, because we're trying to provide, right, education for our students. So it took a lot of work, I gotta say, from district level, but all through teachers, everyone really kind of created this online distance remote learning, right, that we didn't have before. So if you look back a year ago, there was no remote learning in the San Ramon Valley School District. And I give a lot of credit, right, to everyone in our school system to create this actually pretty strong, quality, robust system of online learning right now. I think it was towards end of summer to fall, when I think our case rate start to go down. And we were just actually kind of start to discuss, well, when would it be, right, appropriate to reopen schools? Because we want to open school for the fall, because it is during summer. And again, at that time, we were still taking in a lot of information. And the district and personnel and school sites and teachers were still building, the system for the fall. So I gotta say, that's a lot of resources, and we were focusing on that. And I know that we weren't ready. If we really, really wanted to provide a good, like, hybrid in-person model, I know that we weren't ready, just because everyone was trying to build this online system, right? So in the fall, we decided to, okay, let's go ahead and wait a little bit. And then, hey, it also made sense to actually offer maybe a hybrid model after the first semester, because we didn't want to disrupt the students too much, right? Who just kind of gotten used to being online. I'm saying most students, but that doesn't work for some students, and we've come to we realize that. So we were all set. The board was all set to have some in-person classes for 5th of January, because that's the start of our second semester.
Susanna, a quick question as you're talking about this. Did you have the resources? Obviously, these are public schools that need public money and funds. Did you have enough financial resources as well to, school opening wasn't just about opening, but making sure, you had the right things in place to teach. So how were the resources and the funds coming through as you talk about this?
Yeah, so luckily, the state gave us a little bit of reprieve. So, and usually, yeah, and I can go on about public education funding, you know, in a whole different way. Don't want to, yeah, I think I'm getting a little too much detail in my explanations, but we got a little reprieve because usually every year we would have to look at our ADA, so average daily attendance records, right? And that's how we're funded. How many kids, you know, actually attend? We get money for per pupil. We were looking kind of at, we were looking at kind of a deficit. We have a structural deficit, but because the state said, oh, you know what? Because of the pandemic, because, you know, this is out of your control, you get to, you know, school districts, you get to kind of use the number that you had in 2019. So, you know, so even though we do have a declining enrollment, we do see some decreases currently in student attendance because various reasons, right? Due to pandemic, maybe, you know, they're I don't know what, you know, the family situation is or whatever, but there is a decrease. But luckily, right now, we can use the 2019 or 2019 attendance numbers. So we're, you know, should be paid or get the funds the same as we did last year. Now, going forth, we're okay for this year, maybe okay for next year, but then going forth, yeah, it's going to be kind of a huge drop. So we have to take a long-term look at that too, right, in our budgeting. So we can't like say, hey, it's great, we can spend now or whatever, but we have to also manage a couple of years down the road.
Right. And so how are school openings happening now? Like what is kind of the timeline and which schools will be open before the summer?
So it's been great. We actually had a successful reopening of some of our students, right? Yes. And those who selected to go back in person. So about almost 3 weeks ago, we had our TK through second grade. So we did it in a staggered fashion. TK through second, going back the first week. And then the next week we had third grade through actually sixth grade, and our special education students going back, and it's been fine. So we're in the community, luckily, right? Like you said, the case rates have dropped so much now. We're almost at the red tier because I believe yesterday it was adjusted case rate of 11.5, and red tier is 7 cases per 100,000. So we're hoping in the next week or so, next couple of weeks, we can actually have our middle, the 7th through and high school, 7th through 12th grade students back in campus in a hybrid fashion for kids and for students, because they're older, for students and you know, families who had declared that.
Yeah. So this year they have a choice, right? My understanding is there was a survey that went out and
right.
And so because of that, so some schools won't be opening, and that was based on the survey results of those schools.
Right. Again, yeah. Again, it's funny. San Ramon Valley School District, right? It's a little different. Like City of San Ramon, you look at San Ramon. Town of Danville, you look at Danville. But the San Ramon Valley School District, we actually, right, include both the town of Danville, City of San Ramon, and of course, where Marcia lives, and Alamo, right? So it's all the whole San Ramon Valley. And the demographics, it's different with the 3, right? 2-3 city towns. And so the thinking and the risk, the level of, I think, comfort, risk comfort is very, very different depending on where you live or which town, which city. So in our San Ramon, especially in the Doherty area, we actually have, I believe, 2 schools who are totally remote. When we ask the families, like, would you like to go back in hybrid or would you like to stay out? For a number of reasons, it could be, because they have other older multi-generational family members living with them and, different things. The Doherty Valley really said, no, we're good. We can, our kids are good with remote learning. And we're gonna, that's what we choose. So 2 schools are totally remote. Then on the other side, Danville, Alamo, totally different demographics. Again, different needs, different comfort level. So we have more schools there who have more students in have gone back and will go back to hybrid level.
Thank you for sharing that. I also feel, right, we are an affluent community and people can afford to go to school, kids. It's a very, as I've talked to different people, part of it is their kids can have their own room and a good internet connection. And those are, all things which make it possible for these students to be able to learn. And obviously, they are getting the learnings, and that's why they feel like this is, they can log on and learn remotely. For those of us working in technology, this used to be a norm. Now it seems like the world has adopted a new norm. And I'd imagine the school board is going to start rethinking education after this as well, right? Providing that opportunity of that hybrid. So are you guys looking at it? Are you guys thinking about it? Or?
Oh, yes. Yeah. In fact, like Marge had mentioned that she and I, have been working several years in the higher ed level, right? And so that's part of the reason why I actually decided to step in this role too, because I don't see K through 12, TK through 12, and higher ed as like 2 separate things. It should be, right, kind of a continuum, because they're very much related, whatever, I think your students' experience and, what they do during their K through 12 years affects perhaps, what you do in the higher ed field. So yeah, in fact, I don't think, since again, right, we built this online system of delivering education. I mean, I don't see us just kind of checking it out, right? Like, no more. No, that's going to probably stay in some form. And I think that right now, because do see that education, and it's not just public K through 12 education, but just education in general has been like disrupted, right? Turned on its ears. The colleges and university are trying to also kind of navigate this whole thing. I think actually, even though it's still challenging in terms of environment, I think this is the perfect time, because it has been, disrupted, to say, okay, this is the perfect time to say, what should we keep that's still working really well for students, and what can be like thrown away, right? Not we don't have to need that anymore, because that's kind of a system that may be antiquated, or not serving our students the best it could be. And in fact, we're not waiting until like the pandemic is totally controlled or died down. This next week, I think Tuesday, I believe, we're going to have a meeting, our district superintendent and the Board of Education, and we're going to have a strategic meeting workshop to talk about the road forward. So yeah, that's what we're doing now.
Awesome. So anybody else on the panel want to, ask Susanna something, want to share something? I know we've made her talk mostly, but thank you so much. That was very, very helpful.
Sure.
Dave?
Yeah, so Thank you for all that. First of all, I just want to say thank you. You're kind of in a thankless position, I think, right now. And I think one of the things that gets lost in a lot of the pandemic discussions are there are no good choices, and you're sort of trying to figure out like what is the least bad choice, and each choice has consequence. One thing I would say, so Zoom, we've all been on Zoom calls for a year. It's draining, except this one, which I love. How do you think students are responding to that? Are you worried that they're maybe not getting the same education quality as being in person? I actually teach a business law class, and I don't want to do digital teaching. I actually like being in the classroom, interacting with the kids. I'm curious to hear your thoughts on that.
Oh yeah, no, I totally agree with you because as a past teacher of art, right?
Oh
like,
yeah.
You know, like I love being one-on-one with students, or even in a classroom full of students, because you know that's the best way. We do worry, the board, right? We do worry, and we understand now. Even in my own capacity, I've experienced working one-on-one students, and I know students, there are some that are like, oh, you know what? Remote learning, it's great. I have time to, you know, to set my own schedules. I don't have to worry about the, you know, social or pressures or, you know, certain pressures at, you know, a physical school. But I also have students and have heard from students who are like, I can't learn this way, right? Like I just, you know, it's not working for me. I can't connect with not only the teacher, but like my classmates. And that's how I usually learn, right? Because we all learn differently. So we do that, and that's really part of the reason why we are trying to get some students who need it back on campus in person, because we realize that kids, right, learn differently. We all learn differently. And so we do want them back, and not only for the quality of education, because I think we learn, I think we learn all the time. So not only through books, right, and textbooks, or, you know, homework assignment and stuff. I think that some students are learning how resilient they are right now, you know, and some may not be able to do remote learning, but they're, you know, they're learning in different ways. But yes, as for the Board of Education, again, we want to make sure that the education we're delivering, you know, we're doing it in ways that will help the most students. And that's another thing. You know, in my own experience, working one-on-one students, I can customize, right? I can customize their learning for whatever they need. But as a board, setting policy, it's a whole different way to do things, right? Then you have to make sure that it's the best for all students.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone have any question? And
Yeah.
Marsha, go ahead.
Yeah. Well, Susanna, thank you for all this valuable information. As a community leader, I do understand you are caught in a very, you and your board, you are caught in a very difficult place with this pandemic going on. And there's pros and cons, and the situation is still evolving. So I myself, I know learning, just like what you say, is more than just the book, and it's it's important to put the students, especially the young ones. Well, I think all ages is the social interaction. They learn from each other, and the ecosystem right now is just not pertaining to that. We are evolving into a hybrid because we don't know what's coming. I mean, we hope the pandemic will be complete, but maybe it will never. So you as a policymaker, what do you see the best possible way under difficult situation like this, and evolving a shifting from a traditional learning setting to non-traditional, using technology and yet still keep some of the traditional way of learning, keeping it safe, keeping it still, it's almost like making the best out of the bad situation. What do you see that, you and your board?
Yeah, so thanks for the question. Again, I think, we don't have a clear crystal ball, right, of what's going to happen. I mean, even though it's been over a year of how, our public health people, our, health professionals have learned about, the virus and all that stuff. There's still almost daily new information, right, that comes in. So this is, we're probably going to be having to kind of take a look at this whole situation continuously. We can't just say, okay, this is it. So again, as a Board of Education, I'm not a doctor. I'm not a medical professional. So we rely a lot, right, on our public health, and specifically our county public health, because that's where county and state, right, public health, because that's where they kind of set certain authorities. And I know it's been kind of confusing sometimes when they say, hey, this is the guidance, and they still say that this is the guidance to you. And so some people think, well, that's guidance. You guys can make your own decisions. Well, again, I'm not a public health person. I'm not a doctor. I don't know. So I have to rely on these, right, the health professionals. And if you take a look, it's funny because I was looking at the guidance book, the official guidance book from I believe from the county and the state. And the very first sentence, they say, this guidance is a set of directives. And so I'm like, so is it a guidance or is it a directive? So having said that, yes, we're going to continue to follow and also advocate and to discuss, what is best, what is best for that we hope to see for our students with these with our public officials. But I'd say that we're learning not only from our county and our state and what we're doing in California, but we're learning because now I would say that it's been stated, from a lot of different studies that usually, especially for younger kids, right, it's safe for both kids and adults to go back in at least right now in a hybrid fashion, as long as there's certain protocol that you follow, right? You wear a mask, everybody wear a mask. And actually, I was surprised myself, but I shouldn't be, because even our little ones are great at keeping themselves safe. When I went and visited like our kindergarten classes, when they reopened and stuff, there were little, kids who masks may be a little too big for their face and stuff, but all you have to say is, oh, can you pull that mask up? And they will. So it's like they're following, the safety protocols, staying, the 6 foot or whatever distance apart. They wash hands, use hand sanitizer. I mean, all this, it's been studied that it's safe. And so for our board, we're looking at, and again, I just actually called a special board meeting next week, because we are looking towards to the fall. And we're hoping, right, hoping with the help of vaccines and different things that, and the case rate being coming down, that hopefully in the fall, we will actually may be able to get to a place where we can go back in full-time school, because I think that, you know, I took in online classes and stuff, and it's fine, but I think our kids are missing some of that real important social connections with, right, with the not only the teachers or classmates and friends and stuff like that, but just counselors, other adults and other kids who can, you know, help them learn in different ways. That's what we're hoping to do.
Susanna, yeah, I really want to say thank you. I know we're a few minutes from wrapping up, but thank you so much for sharing these conversations, you know, having a conversation with all of us, really being very transparent and sharing all of, you know, all of this information. Sometimes people just don't know, you know, what's going on with the school board, what's going on with the schools. And I really appreciate you coming on and talking to me today and to everybody here on the panel. And we're also live on Facebook, so you know, if people want to watch it later, they can also watch. I did want to give some of my panelists a few minutes, and I know I promised Dave, because he has something exciting going on with the Arts Foundation. Dave, would you like to share?
Sure, yeah, I have a couple things to plug. I'll try to be really quick on them. So one, we have a poet laureate in San Ramon. A lot of people don't know this. For World Poetry Day, they're now taking submissions to read your favorite poem and then do a video submission of it. It's due on March 1st, videos by March 15th. You can find it out on the city website. I'll put it in the notes on the Facebook so people can access it. Social Justice Collective, which my committee approved, they're now taking art submissions, which will be put on a canvas at the skate park. It's on social justice issues. We're really, really excited about it. Again, I'll put a link. You can find them on Facebook, Social Justice Collective. And then the Arts Foundation is doing our first virtual film series. So tomorrow, 7 p.m., you can show up, and me and my co-host are going to talk to a film professor about a movie called Meet John Doe that you can access via Canopy, which is free if you have a San Ramon library card. So feel free to watch the movie, come and hear us talk about a movie about, you know, media sensationalism, the dark side of populism. We're looking to have a good conversation. In April, our speaker is actually Marcia. So we couldn't give you the best speaker right away. We had to kind of, you know, bring you along on it. So I'll put that in the notes as well. If anybody has any questions, feel free to reach out to me, San Ramon Film Club @gmail.com or 925-786-0471. Thanks.
Well, thank you, Dave, for the invitation. And the film is Farewell.
Yeah, in April, we're doing the Farewell, absolutely.
Dave obviously sits on the most interesting and fun committees.
Yeah.
Patrick, any update from you? Marge, anything from you?
No updates, but I do want to tell Susanna, I just want to thank her for her work on the board and all the board members during this really difficult time. I don't think that there's ever been a school board that has had to face some of the challenges that you've had to face over the last year. And I really respect that the work that you're doing. As a board member, you're, you know, as you were talking about sort of your role, you're a trustee of our schools, and it's a very important role. And in terms of budgets and safety, growth of our schools, all the legal requirements to make sure that you're functioning in a legal way and you're not exposing our schools to any kind of legal liability, and meeting the educational needs of our students. It's a huge task. And I think that there's been quite a debate brewing in our community about the work that you and other board members have done. And I believe it just needs to be said that you have done an outstanding job in a very, very difficult time. And I want to thank you for that work. And I know that there's a whole host of other issues before the school board. And one recently was an issue, or really not an issue, but expanding curriculum in the high school level to deal with, to address ethnic studies and diversity. And I think that that's an important issue. And I applaud that the board is taking this on to provide that kind of growth to our students, as well as to the faculty of the different schools, to bring that perspective. And I just applaud that work and the other fine things that you're doing. And certainly I intend to speak truth to power to what you and the other board members have been doing over the last several years, because I believe that you cannot criticize this board on one single issue, not to mention the fact that I agree with your decision as a result of this pandemic changing as you described and constantly evolving. I appreciate all the work that you're doing, and so I want to thank you for that. And that's really my update.
Thank you. Marge, anything you want to share?
Likewise, no updates, but thank you, Susanna, for just helping us serve the students in the community. And again, just for really always keeping their interests and their families' interests at heart. Just as Patrick said, it's been such a difficult year, so thank you. And thank you, Sabina, again, for your leadership in the community, and all the panelists really for all you're helping us to do to help us serve students best. So thank you.
Thank you so much. And just a few plugs from the city side. So we have launched a hot topics updates on things which are hot topics in the community, including the marketplace questions that keep coming up, because we're getting a lot of emails there. So please do look at the city's website. Staff is doing a really great job of making sure these hot topics are addressed and the facts are posted on the website, so that we don't have a lot of rumors of what's going on. So I would just point you to that. The city is also going through the process of, and I believe the workshop is on the 4th, but do double check on the website. We are looking at a walking district. We've been planning for that. And so a couple of weeks ago, actually last weekend, I took some friends along that walking district and what that looked like. And I'm so very excited about it. So do join that webinar. We're looking for community input on how, you San Ramon residents see the walking district. It's going to be more in what we're calling the core downtown, area of where San Ramon, is building now and focusing on. And so if you can join that webinar, give your input, the Parks Department is certainly looking, and, the committee is now looking at what that walking district will look like. And it'll be very, it'll be interesting. And now, especially that people are out and walking, it gives us more of a reason to start working on this and start building it out quickly. I am also having on the 4th of March, a town hall with the insurance commissioner, Ricardo Lara, and we're going to talk about fire preparedness and how, some of the other insurance issues and how you need to be prepared for that. What are some of the resources actually that office provides? We will also have the fire marshal join us, California Fire Marshal join us. So I will post it on my social. I will, add it to different channels so you guys know how to join that. But that's kind of an update from my end. Otherwise, for city council meetings, we meet every second Tuesday and the 4th Tuesday of the month at 7 p.m. So you're always welcome to join those via Zoom or watch them live on YouTube with popcorn if you enjoy that. But I would say thank you so much. Everybody who joined today, listened in, and especially Susanna for everything you're doing for us on the school board as the president of the San Ramon Valley Unified School District.
I know, and yeah, it's been a pleasure. Thank you, Sabina, for this opportunity, and great meeting you, Patrick and Dave. Because besides education, the arts is my passion. So love to thanks for the information on that, on the film series and different things, Dave, and then Patrick. Really appreciate yeah, your words. Thank you. And no, it's my honor and my pleasure actually just to serve the community, and especially for our students. I really love working with them. Yeah.
Thank you. Well, happy Saturday, everybody.
Thank
And
you.
enjoy this
Thank you,
beautiful day.
Susanna. Thank you,
Nice.
Sabina.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
everyone.
Thank
Bye.
you. Take care.
Take care.